Attention shoppers. Tonight on the checkout, gendered marketing and the equal opportunity to pay more. Pet insurance gets put down. And dishing the dirt on antibacterial cleaning products.
Black and white. It's pink and blue!
And available at Australian Geographic.
From the moment we're born, it's frills for girls.
Barbie, flower and flood of fairy.
And force for boys.
G.I. Joe headquarters with electronic sounds, rapid fire gun and blast action targets.
It's called market segmentation. The theory goes that dividing consumers up into smaller groups is good for business. And what easier way to divide humanity than by the junk between our legs?
Kirsten, don't confuse sex with gender.
And what easier way to divide humanity than by the totally valid personal self-identification as male or female?
It's actually a gender spectrum.
And all things in between.
But we actually don't want to get into all that.
We just want to know who's really paying for gendered marketing.
Is it me? It's me, isn't it?
You know, it hasn't always been this way. In fact, it used to be the other way round.
Pink, being a more decided and stronger colour, is more suitable for the boy. While blue, which is more delicate and dainty, is prettier for the gal.
By the early 1970s, the split between boys' toys and girls' toys seemed to be eroding. Today, that's all changed.
The companies who make these try to trick the girls into buying the pink stuff instead of stuff that boys want to buy, right?
That's right, cute YouTube kid. They worked out that by segmenting the market into narrow demographic groups, they can sell more versions of the same toy.
That's why Lego ads used to look like this.
Build hotels, animals, people, boats, skyscrapers, and more.
But now look like this.
New Lego Friends. I just finished decorating my house. Time to chill with the girls. At the beauty shop, Emma is styled and ready to go.
That move tripled the number of girls using Lego and scored the company a 25% increase in global revenue.
But market segmentation isn't just for kids.
By making two versions of otherwise identical products, Celebrity Slim can sell many more slim shapes. And Hairdresser's Formula can sell more hair pills. And Gillette can sell more razors. And Cotties can try to sell more cordial and fail.
And it's not just about trying to sell more, it's about trying to charge more too.
Take this Body Glide anti-chafe balm.
Triathlon lube, it's a thing.
And it's great for feet, thighs and upper bodies.
But Zoe, we're ladies. We don't have upper bodies. We have feet, thighs and bras, which is why we need Body Glide for her.
Wait, aren't our bras on our upper bodies?
No, Zoe. That's why our version costs nearly 60% more per gram than the original. Because according to Body Glide, we ladies need a petite-sized product for carry-along convenience.
Because there's no way a woman could carry a normal Body Glide?
And you don't have to be a lube-using triathlete to feel the rub of gender marketing.
It comes with everything, from shaving cream and depilatory cream to styling powder and eye gel. And we might not even realise it's happening. Because we only look at our section of the store and ignore anything that's not obviously for us.
And it's not just colour. Companies also use
shape, texture, packaging, logos, verbiage, graphics, sound and names to define the gender of a brand.
lighter colours, smoother edges, floral motifs, softer lines. They're for ladies.
Whereas darker colours, harder lines, squarer shapes and sciencey type pictures mean it's for men.
That's why this pastel pack of tenor incontinence pads for women features a pretty little flower made of wee drops.
Whereas the men's packet has a grid and arrows on it and very specific measurements.
Ah, going the 7mm, I see. Nice.
Now, market segmentation can backfire.
Gender contamination is where a product is so strongly associated with one gender, the other gender refuses to buy it.
Why don't they just call it the cooties effect?
Because we're grown-ups.
Anyway, it's much easier to get women to buy men's stuff than it is to get men to buy women's stuff.
Take Dove. When they entered the male skincare market, they realised...
The name Dove lacks macho mystique, especially when rendered in slender italics and accentuated with a stylised bird logo.
Stylised birds are totally for pussies.
So they compensated by...
printing men plus care in stand-up capitals and by the use of a battleship grey background.
They even squared off the curves of the iconic Dove soap bar to give it a more manly appearance.
Surely dudes are too smart to just fall for girly goop and drag.
No. In 1 year, they gained millions of customers in 30 countries with $150 million in sales just by reminding men that...
You're a man. A man!
And Dove aren't the only ones.
For men! For men! For men! For men! For him! Men!
You'll also see products with really stupid man names to help encourage men to splash their man cash.
Broga! Brogat! Brotox! Guyliner! No! You can't buy candles! You need mandals! In meat and potato, gunpowder, campfire smoke, and stripper's mouth.
But don't worry, guys, you're not the only ones being patronised. A couple of years ago, Fujitsu launched a computer for women. The Floral Kiss laptop for users with long fingernails came with scrapbooking and horoscope software, zirconia adornments and a floral motif. And for women who couldn't use a computer...
Does anybody have a pen?
Bic brought out pens for her.
Thanks!
And today we have Bergen bread for women's well-being.
Bergen call it this because they claim it may help maintain breast health. They don't mention men's well-being, though, despite also claiming it may help maintain prostate health.
Yeah, but no one wants to think about prostates when they're having a sandwich.
Look, can't we just stop all this dividing people? Unilever found a way to bring the genders together and shaft them both.
To unileverage us. Their French brand Signal White Now toothpaste started out for the whole family. But then they launched a glittery gold version for women and followed up with a mannish version for men because, they said,
it will contribute to driving the market up.
And it did, although slightly more for women.
So that's all kind of depressing.
But it's hard to be sad in this playpen.
Don't worry if you don't live in a playpen, though. There are some other things you can do. Ask yourself, am I buying this just because it says it's for my gender? It might be worth checking out the other half of the range.
If you are willing to put up with grey packaging and straight lines...
And don't need your shampoo bottle to reassure you that...
You're a man. A man!
You could save a fortune.
Hey, handsome.
Samuel L. Jackson?
Guess what?
Something about that online gambling company?
Have you heard?
Yeah, I heard. I heard your damn ads all summer. In fact, I'll tell you what else I heard.
What?
I heard that if you win too much with Bet365, they close your account on the grounds you're uneconomical for them.
Whoa.
Or they put restrictions on how much you can win.
Sheesh.
Plus, if you win using their introductory bonus, they can restrict your bets, make it almost impossible for you to withdraw your money before it expires.
The motherfucker.
Language, Samuel. So you know that question you keep asking?
Why have I not joined the world's biggest online sports betting company?
Well, because they penalise you if you win, and the rules are stacked against you. Why do you even do these ads? Did you lose a bet?
Hey, you!
Huge savings!
Hole-proof socks, $9. Regular price, $107,867. Save $107,858.
I'm glad I didn't need socks last week.
Not so huge savings.
Introductory price, $59. Price after promotion, $20.99.
Questionable savings.
$11.69. Why pay $11.69?
Because that's the price?
Even more questionable savings.
Why pay $28.95? Our price, $37.04.
Mathematically illiterate savings.
Was $6, now $2. That's half price for a NAPLAN-style workbook on numeracy.
How much for a workbook on irony?
totally indifferent savings.
Felice! Whatever. We'll be back soon in, whatever.
Our homes are cleaner than they've ever been, and yet we're still terrified of germs. Thanks to scientists in ads, we now know that using a normal sponge is like wiping your bench with a raw chicken.
If you're cleaning with an overused sponge, you might as well be doing this.
Your toilet is putting against you.
Sorry, madam. What she uses just doesn't keep this place fresh.
And your sink, dishcloth, children, plus their bunny rabbits.
You may not see germs, but they are everywhere.
Are all vile cesspits of disease. Normal soap just isn't good enough. Thankfully, you can now buy antibacterial soaps, sprays and wipes. But what do these products actually do? They claim to
kill 99.9% of germs.
Kills 99.9% of germs.
Kills
99.9% of germs.
Kills
99.9% of germs.
What that means is that they kill 99.9% of some germs in lab conditions. As for the claim there,
unlike most ordinary hand wash,
a review of 27 different studies found antibacterial products are no more effective than soap in preventing illness or reducing bacteria. Now you might think if they're equally effective, it doesn't matter what you use, right? Bit of peace of mind doesn't hurt. Well, no, because there's a risk that widespread use of antibacterials could kill off weak bacteria, leaving the strong ones to multiply and evolve over time, creating stronger, more resistant superbacteria. Some antibacterial products contain triclosan. The US Food and Drug Administration has been studying triclosan since the 1970s. It says there's no evidence triclosan is more effective than soap and water, but it may build up in the environment and contribute to antibacterial resistance. The FDA asked manufacturers to prove it works. Dettol and Johnson & Johnson are already removing triclosan from their products voluntarily. Products with triclosan aren't likely to be harmful, but if there are no clear benefits and some potential costs, what's the point? One alternative is alcohol-based cleaners. They won't lead to bacterial resistance, but they're best used in situations where soap and water aren't available. And when your hands are visibly dirty or sticky, they might not be effective. The truth is, no matter how much you wash, it's impossible to be germ and bacteria-free. Your skin is covered in bacteria. Your stomach is filled with over 100 trillion bacteria. In fact, more than 90% of the cells in your body are micro-organisms. But despite all that,
you've actually got nothing to worry about. Most bacteria on humans are actually helpful.
And antibacterial cleaning products are no more effective at preventing infection than good personal hygiene using soap and warm water. Washing your hands is important. One of the main things that determines how clean your hands are is how long you wash for. As for surfaces, ordinary household cleaners or plain old detergent and water still do the trick, and they kill 99.9% more germs than a raw chicken.
Grange Garden Health Kids Sand. Child safe, washed and screened.
Okay, darling. Playtime. Here's your bucket.
Health warning, this product contains micro-organisms.
Well, I guess lots of things have micro-organisms in them.
Avoid breathing dust or mists. Wear particulate mask if dusty.
But why does she have to...
Wear gloves and keep moist when handling.
What the...
Wash hands immediately after use. Grange Garden Health Kids Sand. Great for kids. And micro-organisms.
I'm Adam Stankovicius, CEO of the Consumers Health Forum of Australia. If I could say one thing, it's that doctor knows best for medical stuff, but patients still have consumer rights. If you're told you need to have surgery, it's easy to forget the basic things we do as consumers to protect ourselves. You wouldn't do something as expensive as buying a car without doing some basic research. But in healthcare, we often agree to procedures that cost thousands without asking simple questions. If you need surgery, you don't have to go to the first doctor you're referred to. It's okay to ask around and compare the prices of different surgeons and all the other things you might have to pay for. It's also okay to ask about bulk billing, rebates and payment plans. Make sure you're told if the surgery is in the public or private system and what that means for you in terms of cost. Before agreeing to surgery, we should be asking doctors about their experience with similar procedures, their success rates and how often their patients are readmitted to a hospital. Ask about potential complications and any side effects. It's also fine to ask doctors what the alternatives are, what the implications are of delaying treatment or not having treatment at all. If you can, bring a trusted friend or family member to a doctor's appointment so there's someone else who knows what was and wasn't said. There's more info about your rights in healthcare at ourhealth.org.au. Prevention really is the best medicine, and in healthcare that's true for consumer issues too.
We all want the best for our pets, but we know it's impossible to completely protect them from illness or accident.
Speak for yourself.
With Australians spending $2.6 billion a year on vet bills, it's unsurprising that many of us take out pet insurance.
With so many insurers to choose from, it seems complicated.
But there are actually only two underwriters in the market. Allianz, who operate Pet Plan and Pet Cover,
and Hollard, who underwrite the rest.
I'll take them all.
Like all forms of insurance, pet insurance offers peace of mind, but there are plenty of exceptions. For starters, these are the most common reasons for pet insurance claims. And in Hollard policies, whether it be swallowing foreign objects or knee problems, they only get qualified cover.
It's definitely a foreign object.
Plus, waiting period
doesn't mean you have to wait to make a claim. It means if your pet develops a condition during the waiting period, that problem will be considered pre-existing and will be excluded from cover forever.
Hollard's accident-only insurance also doesn't cover dislocated kneecaps, but thankfully, according to Sydney University data, that's only likely to happen in the following breeds. Allianz's pet cover doesn't cover these either. It also doesn't cover anything to do with hip dysplasia, but that's okay because that's only common in these breeds. Or this common eye problem, entropion, which has a list of commonly affected animals
that goes on as far as the eye can see, unless they got entropion.
All policies have a special clause that say that anything that your pet has a lot of are treated as one. So if your pet has a pre-existing skin condition, for example, nothing to do with their skin will ever be covered, no matter what it is or where it occurs. And if they have a problem with one eye, ear, kidney, or leg, nothing to do with the other one will ever be covered. Which means you need to be extra careful from now on. Most plans don't cover dental either, and that doesn't just exclude teeth, but any oral disease. Even if dental is included, you're still only covered if you take your pet for a dental checkup that you pay for every year.
Have you stopped flossing?
So while your dog's second leg won't be covered, Pet Plan will help out if your pet goes missing by paying for advertising in your local newspaper. They'll even pay for a reward.
Oh, Mittens! There you are! Don't you ever roll away from me again!
But extras like that can cost you in other ways. So perhaps the biggest question you should be asking is how big your co-payment is. This is the percentage you pay of any claim. It can be expensive and you can't get it back by continuously kidnapping your dog and getting Pet Plan to pay the reward.
It's usually about 20% of the vet fees, and for most policies, it stays this way. But some plans increase the co-payment when your pet becomes a pensioner, when they're more likely to need to claim.
One adult and one pensioner, please. Show some respect. Captain Mittenface built this country.
Of course, none of this is to say you shouldn't get pet insurance.
Vets are getting pretty sophisticated these days.
I can put him down. I can give him Botox.
Which means their bills can be huge.
If only Mittens and I could express our shock right now.
Which is why, despite these exclusions, pet insurance still might be the right option. Because if you can't afford a massive vet bill, you may need to consider another option.
I can put her down.
No, we can't live without her.
You didn't say that about me.
Welcome back to FoodTube. Oh, FUTube. Sorry, I never watched this show. And first, a follow-up to Kirsten's airline special. Simon wrote to us to say that anyone who has a problem with an airline should contact ACA. Yeah, thanks, Simon.
The Airline Customer Advocate.
Ah, that would be the completely unknown body that could possibly help you in a dispute with the airlines. The airlines themselves set it up and pay for it, but the airlines haven't found enough money to tell anyone it exists. Consequently, in 2012, the Airline Customer Advocate only received 442 complaints. And judging by our inbox, there are a lot more than 442 people annoyed by airlines. So here's their website. Go crazy. At least in Simon's case, they were useful.
I got money back from Jetstar. How many people can say that?
Unfortunately, they only help you out if your complaint involves a domestic flight, which is a real shame for this guy, who this week brought to the world's attention
the lack of English subtitles for the Wagner opera in Singapore Airlines first-class in-flight system.
How did Kirsten miss this important story?
F you!
We wrote to Singapore Airlines and sadly, English subtitles are still not available for Wagner. But on the upside, they are for Bellini, Puccini and Rossini, the composers, not the Italian law firm. So that's at least some good news for Bob.
Hey, this window is too small for me. Can I get an upgrade? What about some complimentary pyjamas? Because Marcus are really
Thank you, Bob.
Read my compelling news.
Now, we all know if you withdraw cash on a credit card, you get shafted. Interest payments start immediately and they can be at a higher rate. But Bankwest has taken to a whole new level. When Jenny queried her credit card balance, they admitted to her that they were using her credit card repayments to pay off the parts of her debt that were attracting the lowest interest first, thereby making them the most money and in Jenny. When Jenny got annoyed, they told her that they'd sent out a letter in 2012 and she could go back to paying off the highest interest if she just asked them. It just seems they hadn't found enough money to get their teddy bear, bird, sunflower, dog or horse to tell anyone that this rule existed. So we'll do it for them. If you have a Bankwest credit card and you'd like to tell them to pay off the highest interest first, here's their contact number. Go crazy. That way you won't get Ed. And now to vegetables.
I received a chain email from a fellow farmer
Oh no, I hope you send it on to 6 other farmers, otherwise you'll have bad luck.
saying that the only Australian-grown and processed frozen vegetables come from Bird's Eye and Edgels.
Now, unlike most chain emails, this is partly right. For most of their range, Bird's Eye and Edgels, owned by Simplot, are Australian products, while McCain and Heinz are now produced in New Zealand. On the home brand front, Coles also provides all Australian product for their frozen vegetables. Woolworths, on the other hand, are a bit mixed. Some Australian-made, some from China, and these peas are for some reason from the Netherlands. But as of next month, all of Woolworths' Select range will also be Australian-produced. In fact, the pressure to have Australian grown is so intense that the 10 Woolworths Select products that can't be sourced in Australia will just be ditched. But our chain emails go a bit further than this. They claim that New Zealand is being used to sneak in Chinese vegetables into Australia via packaging that says Made in New Zealand. And they also show a lot of concern about supposed chemicals in these Chinese vegetables.
We just don't know how the vegetables are grown in other countries.
Again, this is partly right. When McCain or Heinz packets say
Made in New Zealand from local and imported ingredients.
Or even just
Made in New Zealand.
They could have vegetables from China or America or South Africa or even the Netherlands. We can't tell where they're from. But this is not a unique New Zealand backdoor. The same happens in Australia. Even Bird's Eye in their stir-fry style veggies say made in Australia from local and imported ingredients. And they don't tell us where these other ingredients are coming from. In both cases, Australian or New Zealand producers get veggies like baby corn from elsewhere in the world. Which brings us to the real heart of these emails. Is there anything to this fear of Chinese or Southeast Asian veggies? In 2010, Choice
Brew.
Choice tested 30 vegetable products for 164 pesticides. Only 3 actually had these pesticides, but 2 of those were from China, although the third one was from Australia. So it can affect even the best countries. And even in these 3 cases, they were well below any level which would have seen them banned. So if you want to buy Australian, go ahead. Bird's Eye and Coles and Woolies certainly make it easy for you to find the Australian products. But that doesn't mean that food from other countries is poisonous. This kind of food racism can cut both ways.
Flowery Australian tomatoes. Lucky they look like tomatoes or you wouldn't know they were.
And I'm sure we'd hate it if all Australian lamb exports were tarred with the same scabby mouth brush after one event. And now a bit of a follow-up. Since Kirsten's story on insurance companies charging you a lazy tax, a premium for those who don't bother to shop around, we've been getting a lot of feedback from people who have bothered to contest their premium.
I saved $390 on my car insurance by switching.
Managed to get a quote that saved me $700, and it wasn't even the cheapest.
And it's not just insurance companies that charge the lazy tax.
I reduced my iron and internet bill by $20 a month after I found out I was being charged more for the plan I signed up for 4 years ago than new customers are.
So well done to all of you. Hello? Oh, hi, Prime Minister. Yeah. No, you can't just knock 30% off the ABC budget. No, that's not a lazy tax. It's different. FU? Yeah, I am doing FU. Oh. We've got a brief break now to research and write new stories, so keep your tip-offs coming in. They are invaluable to us. We were going to fill the break with some check-out best-ofs, but after rereading the misleading advertising laws, we've decided to call them factory seconds instead. They're slightly used and banged up, but enjoy. We'll be back soon with all new episodes. Good night.